Coming up, a Southern California tribe has entered into a co-management agreement with the Joshua Tree National Park. We learn more about it, and a new historic novel tackles the oil boom in Oklahoma. Plus, a Seneca artist is honored for his community work. I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Join us for those interviews plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
Chinangale, we're so glad you could join us. Aaliyah is away. We start in Phoenix, where Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland visited Phoenix last week as part of her Road to Healing tour. She listened to boarding school survivors and their descendants share their stories. ICT's Pacey Smith-Garcia has more.
The Gila Crossing Community School was filled with boarding school survivors and their descendants. They shared stories, and the Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, was there to listen. With her were several government officials, including Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs and Gila River Governor Stephen Rowe Lewis. Holland highlighted her own family's shared trauma from the boarding school system.
My ancestors, many of yours, endured the horrors of the Indian boarding school assimilation policies carried out by the same department that I now lead. This is the first time in history that a United States Cabinet Secretary comes to the table with this shared trauma. That is not lost on me, and I'm determined to use my position for the good of the people.
Many spoke of the horrors of the system where members of their families ran the schools for an entire generation.
The abuse they suffered during their time at Escuela continues to impact our familia in ways I'm still peeling back and processing. When my younger grandmother's dementia began to worsen, she told the same stories. One of those stories that I can recite was about how they split her tongue for speaking up.
As many stories as there were told, there are still many more that are untold.
You know, there's more stories than this. You only hear so much because there's a lot of things that happen that people have kept hidden inside. It's not shared.
When asked, some had never spoken of the boarding schools to their descendants before they gave their testimony.
No, I haven't. My own story with that is that in a time of religion and living with and among other people not my tribe, in time it did break up my family, my children from me. I didn't have a place, secure anywhere to go, but my family was broken up.
After an hour of testimony, the event was closed to the press to allow those giving testimony to feel more comfortable. This is just the first step in healing and correcting the system that has impacted many across Turtle Island. In Phoenix, Arizona, Pacey Smith-Garcia, ICT News.
In Brazil, pesticides found on indigenous lands are adding to the country's health crisis. A recent report conducted in the Mato Grosso region has found that 88% of the plants collected on native lands have pesticide residue. According to the report, it has the highest pesticide concentrations in the country and is home to over 2,000 Kayabi citizens. The toxic substance carbofuran, which is banned in Brazil, Europe, and the U.S., were discovered within the region's ecosystems and agriculture. If ingested or inhaled, the chemical can result in fetal malformations and damage to vital organ systems. Experts claim pesticide drift is the cause, contaminating neighboring lands through wind after using spray nozzles on agricultural fields. Adding to an already escalating health crisis, Native communities in the region are reporting breathing problems, poisonings, and cancer. For the citizens of the Tiracatinga territory, rivers used for drinking, cooking, and bathing are polluted. According to the country's environmental agency, Brazil accounts for 1/5 of pesticides produced worldwide. The Cherokee Nation W.W. Hastings Hospital is now a primary stroke center certified. This certification means the hospital is equipped and trained to prevent and treat strokes. This facility is the first tribally owned and operated hospital to achieve this certification from the Dolores Veratis Risk Management Company. Healthcare staff at this facility hope to prevent strokes, but are able to provide treatment for those who are having an attack. At the unveiling of the certification, Dr. Roger Montgomery explained that cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in Indian country. Once treated, the hospital will work to provide a comprehensive recovery and preventative treatment plans. An Indigenous-led children's show has been nominated for animation's highest honor. Spirit Rangers is up for 2 Annie Awards, Best TV and Media for Preschool and Best Character Design for TV and Media. Chumash citizen and show creator Carissa Valencia shared the nomination announcement on social media. The Netflix show follows 3 Native children with secret powers as they explore and help protect the coastal lands of a California national park. Some of the adventure series highlights topics like community, nature, and Native American history. The series also boasts an all-Indigenous writing and producing team, with most of the characters voiced by Native actors. The 50th Annual Annie Awards happen on February 25th in Los Angeles, California. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. A new novel focuses on true events for Muscogee Creek citizens in the Tulsa area in the 1920s. Author JD Colbert joins us to talk about his book, Between Two Fires, The Creek Murders and the Birth of the Oil Capital of the World. He's a columnist and served Native Americans and tribes in the banking industry. Welcome, JD.
Good day. Thank you for having me.
So we've heard about this terrible history of greed with the Oklahoma oil boom through the upcoming movie Killers of the Flower Moon, but that dealt with the Osage tribe. How is your story related to that?
It's very similar in many ways to Killers of the Flower Moon. My book, of course, it's a historical fiction thriller, and it is predicated on documented history of the murders of Muscogee Creek natives and the theft of their oil-rich allotments.
So these events set up a long string of events to end tribal sovereignty, like land allotments and the guardianship system. How do you tell these stories within the novel?
So it's predicated on those events, and while the story my book focuses on the Muscogee Creek experience, in many ways it's a pan-Native experience with regard to such issues as the forced assimilation, the forced allotment of heretofore community-owned tribal lands, the Indian boarding school experience, and the discovery of oil and other valuable minerals, and the subsequent murders of Native peoples.
And how did you go about finding the characters within the book?
Great question. Most of the characters in my book are historical, most prominently including the 2 protagonists, the male protagonist, Sam Davis, who was a half-breed Muscogee Creek, and the female protagonist, Zit Kala, who is famous today across Indian country for her expose written in 1924 on behalf of the Indian Rights Association called Oklahoma's Poor Rich Indians, where she documents what was going on at that time, the murders, the theft of the oil-rich allotments, and the legalized theft of native lands through the guardianship system.
And how does the discovery of such rich minerals impact the Oklahoma tribes today?
It's still very much part and parcel of our everyday lives here in Oklahoma. The many people, many families that I know, in fact, most Native families that I know and have grown up with have similar stories to mine of the loss of our native lands either by murder or by the Indian guardianship system. So I sense that there's still this historical trauma that we live with here in Indian country in the former Indian territory of Oklahoma. And at base, what I endeavored to do was to bring this history to light, to pull it out from under the rug, from out of the closet, so that we might engender greater public awareness of what happened here in this place.
And if you had any takeaways for your viewers upon completing this novel, what do you want readers to understand or take away from the novel?
I would like the Native readers to feel a sense of solidarity, of this kind of pan-Native experience. And for the non-Native reader, I would hope, again, that they have a greater awareness of what happened. There are many people I know here in the Tulsa who call themselves fifth or sixth generation Tulsans, but even they don't know about this story. So I am gratified that this word is getting out, that more awareness is being built, and that's what I had hoped to accomplish.
Well, JD Colbert, thank you so much for joining us and sharing about your novel. There is a new practice gaining traction because of its power in recognizing tribal nations as a key decision maker. It is called co-management. This is significant because it returns the rightful authority to tribal nations in stewarding and protecting land and resources in places like national parks. Last week, the 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians was the latest tribe to enter into a co-management agreement. They officially signed the agreement with Joshua Tree National Park at an event in Coachella, California. ICT's Paris Wise sat down with 29 Palms Tribal Chairman Darrell Mike and Joshua Tree Superintendent David Smith.
While there are currently around 80 co-stewardship agreements between tribes and national parks, this is the first formal agreement between Joshua Tree National Park and an associated tribe. You started working together in 2018. How is this agreement different than former collaborations?
Well, I think the difference might be Chairman Mike. You know, having someone who comes to the table who is actively engaged all the time. He's been a spearhead kind of pushing this forward. And that has been a key change that I have seen. We work with 14 different tribes right now, actually 15, all of which are collaborative in nature, but there's something special about Chairman Mike and his philosophy. His idea of stewardship is one that the Park Service shares. Our basic premise is that in the Park Service, we're here to take care of these places forever. And I think the chairman shares that kind of an idea. And whether that is the sacred stories of the people that lived here, whether it's the tortoises that we have in the desert, whether it's the landscapes, it's something we have a lot of connection with. So I think that was the big change that really allowed this agreement to come forward.
Chairman, any sentiments on that?
No, you hit it on the head. I mean, this is for not just now, but it's for future generations, whether it be for the tribe or the community itself or anybody surrounding the area, for everybody to enjoy.
So we're all individuals. We all have our identity. The 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians has an identity. The Rangers at Josh Tree have an identity. The towns that we work with have identities. But if you want to get anything done, you have to work together. I represent 130 people, out that work inside the park. I can't take care of the park. I can't tell the story of the Chemehuevi, the Serrano, the Mojave, the Kuya people. I can't tell those stories unless I actually have a relationship and can engage with them. And similarly, the tribes, they need to work with the folks that are around them as well to give them the power so that they can take it to the next step. So all of us, I don't know, to quote someone who once said this, it takes a village. It really does take a village of people coming together to make things work.
Chairman, tell us about this agreement and what it means to the 29 Palms tribe.
What it means to me and my tribe is, it's been a long-standing decade of dialogue back and forth with the park. And this means a lot to the tribe because it just shows that the tribe and the government, to government relationship like Joshua Tree National Park, can now take that step forward in creating something together jointly, like it should be with every tribe and every other government in every other state. So yeah, this is a good step with the park. And to add to that, as people know before, tribes were very, very quiet, very kept to themselves, and it's like, as time went on, and I was speaking to my elders, it's like, how do you expect people to understand us and know us if we don't get out there and tell us about ourselves and explain how we came to be and how we are today? How
do you see this partnership continuing to grow in the future? You shared some really exciting projects that you've already done. I'll start with you, Chairman.
Well, there's so many things. We have an RV park coming up, and that's getting built. We also talked about housing some of the rangers there, not just to patrol the park, but patrol the reservation too. The trailheads. We talked about doing a convenience store to provide some rental equipment so they don't drive a nail into the rock, and it's actually messing up the park. So those are some things that that we had. And we also got a grant for the trailheads to get new trailheads.
Right. So we're looking, part of this agreement is that the chairman's interested in building amenities inside the reservation, and then I'm interested in seeing the trail continued inside the park as well. So we're looking at a trail that would actually begin inside the reservation. In the reservation, and follow an old mining road, and then come back down into the reservation again. So that meets both of our needs. Continue collaboration on education. That is super important.
Very important.
Sarah has been great about working with kids down at the Oasis of Mara, and that's been just fantastic. I want to see that move ahead.
Our tortoise sanctuary.
The tortoise sanctuary, working with our wildlife biologists, consultation, like figuring out a way that we can have tortoises that are, donated and protected in this area so they aren't released in the park in case they have diseases or things like that. So that is a good collaboration. Looking at the Campbell collection and making sure that we find appropriate artifacts that are there that can be shared with the tribe, or they can be put into the cultural center that help tell the story of the Native Americans who lived here 10,000 years ago, the ones that lived here 1,000 years ago, the ones that live here today. So those are some of the things I see us working on in the next few years.
Yep.
So exciting. Superintendent, so Joshua Tree National Park currently manages parts of traditional homelands of about 15 tribes. How are they incorporated into land stewardship, or how do you see that progressing?
So we have, I think, a pretty healthy relationship with all of our partners. We get together physically once a year. We get together monthly or throughout the year by telephone or by visiting each other and collaborating on projects. We do formal consultation with different tribes as they request. We have a good relationship with the tribes. What's unique about the 29 Palms Band is their reservation abuts the park. So for co-stewardship, this is a logical next step. Whereas with most of our other partners, their tribal homelands include that area, but their reservation land may not actually be adjacent to the park. So doing co-stewardship is a little bit more challenging, and we'll see how things progress, because I'm just like the southern portion of the park, the Kuya people, that's part of their native homeland. And there are great opportunities to collaborate on traditional plants in those areas, on artifacts in those areas, and protecting those places. So I'd like to look and explore those opportunities as well.
And Chairman, for other tribes who are looking into co-management, what would you say the benefits of it are?
Hear each other out, sit down, talk over a cup of coffee, multiple cup of coffees. So you never know what's going to happen. You never know, you might strike, and like I said, the whole thing is educating one another, and becoming, we are stewards of the desert as well as Joshua Tree National Park. And if they can get past that hurdle or forget what happened in the past, because we can't change anything. We're here today. So let's work together, and learn from it. Mm-hmm. I always say you learn from the past to create a better future. So
thank you so much to both of you for taking the time, and congratulations on this agreement.
Thank you.
It's nice meeting you.
A Seneca artist is the recipient of the 2023 Johnson Fellowship for Artists Transforming Communities. Americans for the Arts awarded this grant to G. Peter Jemison. His contemporary visual artworks are in museums around the world. He has been a leading voice in successfully advocating for Native rights around issues of repatriation of sacred objects, cultural patrimony, and the human remains of the Haudenosaunee. He joins us today. Welcome, Peter, and congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So to start, could you just tell us about this fellowship and what it means to you?
Well, it means to me that they are recognizing the work that I've been doing for many decades, actually, attempting to make visible contemporary Native American art and to also work with museums, as you mentioned, to repatriate our ancestors and also the funerary objects, cultural patrimony, which includes our wampum belts, back to our nations, so that they become, again, a part of our way of life, or that they are put back in the ground where they should have been kept. So it's kind of just a recognition that the work I've been doing hasn't gone unnoticed, and they're acknowledging that at this time.
You are the site manager of the historic 17th century Ganondagan State Historic Site. Could you tell us about its significance?
Sure. Well, Ganondagan is the site of a 17th century Seneca town. It is located in a town called Victor, New York, but it was a part of the original homeland of the people. We refer to ourselves as Onondaga, the people of the Great Hill. In English, they call us Seneca. And this was one of our four major towns. It was probably the capital of the Seneca Nation between the period of about 1655 and 1687. And in 1987, it was opened as the only New York State Historic Site acknowledging our Native traditions in the state of New York. And I operated it for 34 years. And over that course, we built a Seneca bark longhouse. We developed guided trails. We introduced native grasses back into the landscape. We started an Iroquois white corn project to preserve our traditional heirloom seed and also to create food from that. That's available to our people as well as to other people. And then finally, in 2015, we opened the Seneca Art and Culture Center, a building that includes a gallery space. It includes an auditorium. It includes archival and classroom spaces. And it really tells our story in a visual way through exhibits and through traditional or contemporary art shows that we do once a year. So we're both interested in telling the history, but also in acknowledging that we're here in the present.
You've also been involved in a number of film projects. Could you tell us about the Iroquois creation story?
Sure. The Iroquois creation story, there are many versions. I chose a version that was done by or recited by a man named John Arthur Gibson, who was a Seneca chief. He lived at the Six Nations Reserve in Ontario. And he related this story in the year about 1901. And basically he was telling an age-old story of how the world came to be as it is and how two twins went about creating this world that we experience. And I decided I wanted to create a visual record of that, or a story in film. And so in order to do that, I obtained a grant, and I worked with our traditional singers and dancers, some of our speakers. I worked with a dance group called Garth Fagan Dance, who's very famous for his work with the Lion King, and then also worked with the Rochester Institute of Technology to work with animators who helped to create the story in film.
You've used a paper bag many times in your work. What does that mean to you?
Well, several years ago, a long time back now, I realized that the paper bag, although it was a very common object, was also something that was a kind of a universal, that everyone used paper bags here in the United States, and that they were kind of in a way unifying us by the fact that they existed. And most times people just threw them away after one-time use. And I decided to, kind of personalize them, and influenced by my Seneca beadwork and by other parfleche containers and various other decorated bags, I added some, native influence to the paper bag, using a variety of different media and making it a more personal and a timely statement about events that were going on in my life at a given time. And for whatever reason, the critics really responded to the bags, and they have sort of become something I'm known for, and in a way opened the door to my art to places like the Museum of Modern Art or the Whitney Museum in New York City, the Heard Museum in Phoenix.
Well, Peter Jemison, we're wrapping up our time here, but thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your work.
You're very welcome, Mackenzie, and thank you for this day.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
The Sand Creek Massacre, the betrayal that changed Cheyenne and Arapaho people forever, focuses on tribal accounts of Colorado's deadliest day. Exhibition details at historycoloradocenter.org.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.